So hello everyone and welcome to our meditation. And one of the maybe unusual aspects of Buddhist spirituality is its emphasis on absence, the absence of things. And with some reflection we can appreciate that how much happiness can come from absence. Right now I'm sitting where it's warm at IMC in the absence of the cold, which is outside here. It looks like it might rain, and so it's absence of rain in this room. I feel safe from the cold and the wet outside. It feels cozy and nice to be here. Coming down to IMC this morning, there were beautiful sunrise in the slivers of empty space where the clouds weren't on the horizon. So I was delighted by the beautiful colors, and the colors were there. Partly what stood out was the absence of clouds in those slivers, that slices of the sky. There can be the happiness of not having to deal with any responsibilities, to sit in meditation and not have to, go to a meeting or do the chores or something. It's just nice. The absence feels good. Absence as a condition for a sense of contentment and happiness. The absence of desires, absence of conceit, absence of hostility can feel so good, so wonderful. Absence is not something that we're trained to focus on, to look for. The mind's always usually interested in something. If we're thinking about a lot, we're thinking about something. Absence of thought, absence of a subject to be thinking about. It can be so nice, that peace. So assuming a meditation posture and closing the eyes and taking a few moments to feel your body, maybe rock your body back and forth, maybe side to side, as a way of connecting to your body, feeling your body, loosening your body. And then slowly come to stillness with the body. And having moved the body a bit, the stillness might be highlighted. The absence of movement can highlight the sensations of the body that's still. And then taking a few long, slow, deep breaths. Releasing tension in your body as you exhale. When I was first introduced to Zen, I was taught to flap my elbows like a chicken. It made me smile. But also, I learned that could kind of loosen things up in the arms. So the arms, they aren't somehow unconsciously held tight. And then letting the breathing return to normal. And as you exhale, relax the thinking mind. Relax the grip thinking has on whatever subject of thought that concerns your thinking. And also now taking a broad global sense of you sitting here, feeling the body as broadly as you easily can. And with this broad awareness of the body, appreciate the absence of busyness, of activity, of running around, being in commute traffic. Just appreciate some of the ways of being which are not here, and how it allows the body, your very being, to have breathing room, to have space, to just be. And if you do feel safe in the place you're meditating, appreciate the absence of danger. We live in a world where many people live in danger. And you can have a deep sense of well-being, contentment, at least for these few minutes, to be meditating in safety. And perhaps, to the degree to which there's an absence of distractions, there can be a happiness to just being here, alive, breathing, attentive, engaged in the practice, which has tremendous meaning and purpose, tremendous benefit. What a good thing to have this practice. And with whatever global feeling of well-being that's available to you, let that well-being be massaged or touched or stroked by your body breathing. The expansion of the rib cage, the belly, touches, moves into whatever global feeling of well-being you have. And the exhales, letting go, settling in to the middle of this well-being, one breath at a time. means of contentment, of well-being, is not to focus your thoughts on what's wrong, but to focus on what is absent here. What is absent that feels really good and supportive, that allows your muscles to relax, your heart to settle, maybe even allows your heart to smile. So good to just be here in the simplicity of this moment. Allowing a sense of well-being to support mindfulness. As we approach the end of the sitting, to see if you can feel whatever sense of well-being there is in your body, your mind, your heart. If you're a little more calm or settled than when you started the meditation, if you're a little bit more still, quiet, is there any well-being in that settledness, in that calm? Even the slightest sense of well-being in being here and now, in this body, in this mind, in this heart at this time. Let the influence of that well-being register for you. Absorb it. Take it in. Like the warmth on a cold day. Taking in the warmth of well-being, contentment, happiness. And then imagine that you meet someone who's friendly and kind, and you meet them with your well-being. You meet them with your contentment. How are you when you're calm and relaxed, at ease? How are you in being with someone who is undemanding, who's also kind, relaxed? Might there be some goodwill, some friendliness that you have? And if you do, maybe you can let your goodwill now spread out across the lands. Let your goodwill spread to include all beings. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be free. And may your well-being contribute to the well-being of others. Don't sacrifice your own well-being, because then you have less to offer others. Thank you. So, hello everyone, and welcome to this second talk on and maybe I shouldn't call it noble, but the four truths of happiness. And the second truth for today is the truth of the conditions for happiness. And this is chosen carefully because rather than calling it the causes of happiness, there are the conditions for happiness. And just that is significant. If there's a cause for our happiness, the chances are that happiness becomes too dependent on a cause, too dependent if something has to happen so that we can be happy. And the happiness then becomes fragile, and chances are that happiness is not very deep or is not very pervasive. It could be genuine, to be caused by something, and it can touch us wonderfully at times. But it's not something which can persist very well, except in memory, when the cause is not there. In Buddhism, there's a lot of emphasis on understanding the conditions for maturing in this Dharma, maturing in the Buddhist path, a path that comes with it the arising of joy and happiness, delight, gladness, contentment. So a whole slew of feelings that belong to the family of well-being. And they're an integral part of developing this practice. But these things are not caused by anything, but the conditions come in place for them to arise. And sometimes some of this, when the conditions come into place, they teach us something about the availability of happiness and well-being that maybe is here much more often than we realize. So, because some of the conditions are absences. So, for example, the absence of being unethical, the absence of killing and stealing and sexual misconduct and lying, intoxication. This is phenomenal. This is understood in Buddhism to be a source of just a feeling of safety, a feeling of happiness, contentment, a feeling of relief. And but it comes from an absence of doing these things, absence of causing harm. And this is a condition for something, for a sense of delight and happiness, relief, especially if we know the alternative. Some people's lives get ruined by being unethical. Their lives become very stressful. But to not have any of that, and to have the freedom, the fresh air in the heart, can be a sense of tremendous well-being, of happiness. And we learn about that, the absence of being unethical, And we get a sense, oh, that happiness is in some ways always available. It's not dependent on something happening. It's dependent on an absence of something. So if we stay close to that absence, it's always available. And if we make that absence a thing, and that's going to cause us to be happy, then we're already caught, and that has to be a certain way. But the idea is to just trust the conditions. The absence of stress in our lives. There can be a sense of well-being that teaches us the same thing, that there is a sense of well-being, contentment, ease that's possible when we don't have stress. So why get stressed? That's the kind of the big question that as a really, I think a mature Dharma practitioner would ask themselves, why get stressed? Why get stressed when maybe the alternative is so much better? And then see what kind of answers you come, and maybe have a discussion with yourself or with friends or people about this whole question, why do you allow yourself to get stressed? Why is it so important? Question it. The absence of stress can provide well-being, a sense of ease, a lot of goodness that can grow and develop. It fosters room in the heart for something to come. So the absence of the hindrances, the absence of greed, hate, and delusion, the absence of anxiety, these can all provide a sense of relief, a sense of ease, a sense of harmony, a sense that things are good in the world, and at least locally, here and now. And we're allowed to feel the goodness of that. Don't sacrifice that goodness for anything. If you think the conditions in the world, the political world, whatever's happening in the climate and the environment, if you give away your inner goodness, give away, abandon yourself to the anxiety, to the anger, to the dismay, to the confusion that those things give rise to, that's tragic. Because it's from the very sense of inner well-being, ease, goodness, that something profound can happen. Even if you're going to be involved in any of those causes, can you do it from that place of your own goodness, your own well-being, that comes from the absence of giving yourself away, the absence of hostility, the absence of greed, the absence of anxiety. So there's a tremendous, the condition for happiness that can develop and grow has a lot to do with an absence rather than a cause. And an absence then allows something to grow. And part of this field of goodness, field of well-being, when there's space for it, is the growth of wholesome qualities, wholesome states within us. That we have natural capacities for some things, and maybe different for different people, but we have some people have a natural capacity to care, beautiful caregiving, care for the welfare, well-being of others. Some people have a natural capacity for generosity, for kindness, friendliness, compassion, love. Some people have a natural capacity for calm and honesty and integrity. We all have some of this, perhaps. And as we have these absences that preoccupy us, because breaking the precepts, being unethical, requires some kind of preoccupation. Being caught in things that are stressful means we're somehow preoccupied. Being caught in anger and hostility, dismay and anxiety, we're preoccupied. To be unoccupied, or to occupy ourselves in a deep way, not be preoccupied, gives room for wholesome qualities to grow. And these are invaluable in the Dharma. And these wholesome qualities, if we act on them like we act from generosity, if we act with care or love or kindness or friendliness, they have space in the emptiness of greed, hate, and delusion, the emptiness of stress, to evoke or fuel or strengthen an inner sense of happiness, well-being. And so part of what we do in Buddhism is both an absence, appreciating absences that bring us a better sense of well-being. And also we appreciate that certain things, when they're acted on, are the further conditions for well-being. Not that generosity is seen as a cause for happiness, but the generous sensibility fosters the growth of more well-being. Ethical integrity fosters the growth of well-being. And so we're more gardeners than we are engineers. We're not engineering ourselves into happiness in Buddhism, but we're planting the seeds, we're tending the field, we're tending the garden, the plants, we're nourishing them, feeding them, watering them, keeping the weeds out of the garden so they can grow well. And so we have inside of ourselves weeds, and we want to be very careful with them that they don't suffocate or shade out the good plants that are growing in there. Appreciate the absence of weeds, appreciate the clarity, the breathing room that provides, and then appreciate that there is goodness in us, there is wholesome qualities within us. Don't sacrifice those, don't abandon them, because then you abandon yourself in some ways. The instinct towards hostility, aversion, the instinct towards desire, the instinct towards conceit are oddly enough ways in which we give ourselves away. We lose ourselves in those because we're limiting ourselves to a particular concern. We're defining ourselves by a very narrow range of what it means to be a human being. And so to give ourselves away that way is quite sad. Don't give yourself away. Stay present in the absence. Stay present in the goodness. Stay present for the whole, the breathing room, where there's fresh air for your heart, for your body. Because it's in that breathing room of things where we're all there for ourselves, that we don't limit ourselves with preoccupations, where there's a condition for the arising of happiness. So if you want to be happy, contribute the conditions for that. Don't search for a cause. If you think you're going to be happy by going to Disneyland, you might be. But that's not going to create lasting happiness. Unless you go to Disneyland in this empty, open place with your own goodness flowing out of it. And then, if that's the case, maybe you don't need to go to Disneyland. Because the core happiness is not dependent on Disneyland. The core happiness is already in you, and you can do anything. You could even go to the local soup kitchen to support people who are hungry. And you'll maybe feel even happier than you would if you went to Disneyland. So, conditions. The second truth of happiness is that the profound, meaningful happiness, dharmic happiness, arises from the conditions that we put in place, not the causes. So, thank you. And may you look for the conditions today, not in the world per se, but in yourself, that you can stay close to, so you go through the day happier. And perhaps you can put a rubber band or a string around one of your fingers or something as a reminder that through the day you keep looking for how you can create the inner conditions, absences, that you touch into a natural sense of well-being, ease, happiness that comes when you don't give yourself away. Thank you.